So we companion plant for three main reasons. The first one being for pollination. And this has to do with flowering plants, whether it's flowers or vegetables or fruit trees that produces flowers to attract pollinators to our garden. And I'm looking at a carpenter bee buzzing right there on my gungo plant. The second is soil health. There are some plants that provide nutrients to the soil. There are some plants that provide structure in terms of the root movements in the soil, and so they benefit each other. And for the third reason why we companion plant is for pest control. And we all need that help in the garden. So some plants repel pests. While they might not be a one fix for all, and I'll go into that in details, they do repel some of the pests. And then there is the added bonus. I said three, but there is the added bonus of maximizing on your space, especially if you're gardening in a small area. And so we're going to discuss companion planting today. One of you asked in a previous video, I did ask that you request your videos that you'd like me to do, and one of you asked for a companion planting video, and so here we go. My name is Marie if you're new here, and this is my container garden, and as the name suggests, it is a container garden on rocks. So most of my vegetables are companion planted. And you might be hearing the term companion planting, but you're new to gardening, or you have been gardening but you're not sure what that is or what the best companions are to plant. And if that is the case, you've clicked on the right video. You're at the right place, because I'm going to share with you today some of the best plants, some of which are in my garden and some that are not, because as I said, I plant in only containers, but I cater for persons planting in containers and persons who are planting in ground as well. So some of these I'm not able to do in my garden, but I'm going to share with you for persons who are gardening in ground and in beds and bigger spaces than I am planting in. But a lot of the companion planting that I will share with you, I will be able to demonstrate as I do them in the garden and do them successfully, producing tons and tons of food. And as you always ask, Mary, what do you do to control pests? Because you don't spray. Obviously, I don't, because there are so many pests and insects buzzing around in the garden. Companion planting is one of those things that help me out a great deal. So I'm going to share with you quite a few vegetables that are popular that most persons want to grow, that you're able to companion plant and do it successfully. So here you go, madam. And for all of those who are shy to ask, this video is for you all. Now in my garden, we have a lot of marigolds growing. I have two different varieties growing and they're beautiful, but I have been giving marigold a hard time because I was told generally that marigold repelled pest, not a specific pest. And so I thought wherever I plant marigold, it should ward off all the pests. No, it does not ward off all the pests, but one such pest that it wards off are whiteflies. And I'll get to that. First on our list is tomatoes, guys. Tomatoes and basils, those make a perfect pair. Here are my tomatoes. It was loaded with stink bugs, but there were no hornworms. Little did I know until I was doing research for this video for you guys that the basil that is nestled between my tomato here, there are basils and scallion behind there. The basil is responsible for warding off those moths that lays the egg to produce the hornworms. I've never seen a single hornworm on this tomato plant, but I've seen the stink bugs. I'm not yet sure what repels stink bugs. I'm still working on that and I will definitely let you know. But the basil, it wards off the moth that lays on the tomato to produce those hornworms. I have them up there And I'm going to plant more basil after I finish giving you the list of vegetables that you should companion plant today. So the stink bugs are a problem. Soap water took care of them the other day, but there are no hornworms. And an added bonus I was told is that basil also provide lovely flavor to the tomatoes. These tomatoes and basil aren't planted in the same container, but if you have that experience or have had that experience where it affects the taste of your tomatoes, let me know in the comment. Also, if you're watching this video and it is helpful to you, please share the video. Pause, share, and get back while I get to number 2 on the list of companion plants. Now, as I said, some of the things I will not be able to demonstrate, like this next one, it's bean and corns. Bean and corns are one of the best companions to plant together. I don't currently have beans in here. I actually have a tomato growing inside here. But what this does is provide support for especially climbing beans. You can also plant bush beans with corn, but especially for climbing beans, they're able to grow up the stalk of the corn while the corn takes a little while to produce, and even after producing, it still produces that support for the bean to climb on. But the bean also provides support for the corn in terms of nutrients. Beans are excellent nitrogen fixers in soil. Once they start producing pods, their roots are producing some little nodes that are filled with nitrogen, and that provide nitrogen to the roots of your plants, and so they're able to grow and produce really, really well. So those two are great companions to have in your garden, and they can be planted in containers, they can be planted in ground, they can be planted in beds. Those do really well together. The third pair I want to talk about is onions and carrots. Presently, I don't have carrots and onion growing together in the garden. I recently planted some carrots and will be sowing some onions with them. As I said, not all of them I'm able to physically demonstrate on this video in the garden, but there are things that I've planted before. Most of them are things that I've planted before, like onions and um, carrots. This is especially useful if you're in a small space, you have one bed and you want to maximize on that space. And also they're both root vegetables, but they don't compete for space because the onions produce on top of the soil while the carrots go down. And so the carrots will burrow down and push the soil up, and that soil that is pushed up, the onions will thrive in there. They just do well together. So if you have a small container and you want to plant both, give that a shot. Just ensure it's a deep enough container for you to get good length carrots, and they basically are fed the same way. Similar way, very low maintenance. You plant them in rich compost and you just allow them to grow. Fertilize them when they reach a certain stage in their growth, and then you harvest the onion and the carrots is there left to develop. So they just do well together. Right here I have, this is okra and corn growing together in these containers. But the next one is squash and corn. Any squash, pumpkin, butternut squash, any squash and corn does well together. And what that does is the squash provide ground cover for your corn. I think I planted maybe once or twice butternut squash and corn, and they both did extremely well. The corn, they're heavy feeders, they do take up a lot of moisture, and that squash, they provide cover for the soil and retain that moisture. I'm not sure how the corn benefits the squash in that case, but the corn does benefit from having squash covering the surface of the soil. And there is this famous three sister corn, squash, and beans that persons usually do. They do well together. The same purpose as I explained earlier, for the bean climbing on the corn and then the squash providing ground cover. So those are great companions. Now my okra is just doing fantastic with the corns, even though I don't know if either of them helping. I'm just utilizing my space, guys. These right here, these are three gorgeous rose bushes that my husband got for me. And guys, aphids love these things. And a few of you, a while back, I hope you're still watching, had asked me what would get rid of the aphids. Currently, I am unable to plant garlic in the containers. So what I use is to spray the plants with garlic water. Aphids, they really don't like the scent of garlic. So if you're able to, if you have small rose bushes, because I'm not sure if it will help those rose bushes that are really up high, but if you companion plant garlic along with your rose bushes, it repels the aphids and kind of lessen their attacks on your rose bushes. These were covered. Let me see if there are any still on it to show you. Yes, there is. Let me, I'm going to sacrifice this one bud for you. So I need to spray it again. The aphids, they love the rose bush, the rose, and they come onto the petals. You see that? They come onto the petals even before the rose start to open. And so I'm going to drop this in my compost bucket so they drown. Right, so if you're able to plant garlic with your rose bush, it will help with the aphids on them. I'm I've not had luck with garlic bulbs, but they do grow into plants, and so I plant them in quite a few of my pots. Peppers and herbs, guys. If you are a fan of farming on the rocks for any amount of time, any period of time, you know that we love peppers here. We plant a lot of peppers and the peppers do fantastic. You'd also notice that in those videos when I share, there are always herbs planted beside the peppers. I find that they do really, really well with the herbs planted close by, whether it be thyme, marigold, rosemary, whatever herb you can find to plant close to your pepper plants. It wards off most of the pests because a lot of pests love peppers. White flies, aphids, stink bugs, hornworms, all of those love your pepper plant. And if you can lessen the attack on your peppers, they will do well. So interplant your peppers with a lot of herbs. You can also put marigold, but I'll get to marigold shortly, close to your peppers. It does help to ward off some of the pests. So those are really, really good companion. And as I said, I garden in containers. So if you're not able to plant them in the same container, plant them next to each other and they will benefit from having those herbs close to them. As I said, companion planting also is a great way of saving space when you have limited space working with. So even plants that really don't benefit each other, like these tomatoes and potatoes, they don't benefit apart from the potato providing sweet potato providing ground cover for maybe the tomatoes and so on. It there is no substantial benefit apart from it allows me to plant several things using the one space when you don't have a lot of ground space working with. So companion planting don't necessarily um always, the plants don't necessarily support each other. Do you understand what I'm saying? I hope I'm making sense. Once upon a time, whenever I picked off these pepper plants, pepper leaves I should say, they would be filled with white flies. No, I am going to admit I do give the marigold a hard time because, as I said, because I've heard persons saying marigold would ward off pest, I thought it was one bad day that cover all the sore. So I thought because I planted marigold, I shouldn't be seeing any pests, but it's not all pests that marigold ward off. What I know work for me, and I can attest to that. I have seen it myself. I've tried it several different locations in my garden where I plant peppers and eggplants and I don't put marigold there. They're filled with whiteflies and aphids. Whenever I put the marigold close to my peppers and eggplants, they do so well. This eggplant was over by the bed there and it was filled with whiteflies. Now, what I did was I took off the affected leaves, moved it closer. They're all in separate containers. They're all in they're all in the same type of container, but all different containers. What I'm saying is they don't need to be in the same container to be companions. They just need to be close together. No, there are absolutely no pest on my eggplant and it is producing, and no pest on the peppers. I'm not seeing any stink bug up here either. Fingers crossed. So marigolds, for the purpose of staving off whitefly, is the best companion plant I've found for my peppers and my eggplant, and I recommend it to you guys for that purpose. For stink bugs, no. The stink bug love it. They'll go on it. They'll suck on it just like any other plant. But the whiteflies, they stay far from the marigold, and I love it for that. And it is so beautiful. It's so gorgeous. And it works for the whiteflies, and they can be a nuisance on your pepper plants. For those of you who plant pepper, you know. This is a beautiful red cabbage. Another companion that has worked for me, and this is something that I've tested for several months also, is planting scallion with my cabbages. Whether it's the red or the green cabbage, it works. I have a few cabbages in the garden that currently, well, they don't have no because I sprayed them off a couple days ago, but they had aphids on them. Those cabbages, I realized, do not have scallion growing with them. So what I do, whichever pot I place a cabbage in, I also place a stalk of scallion in there, and it has worked. So you ask Marie, how is your cabbage so pest free? These are some of the little things I do, and it happens over time. I didn't just learn all of this at once. I just keep testing things in the garden, and so whenever it work, I share it with you. I share when it fail also. So not everything that I try is a success. But if it is successful, I definitely share it with you. Because my goal is to have each and every one of you who comment under my video, say, Mary, I planted something and I did what you did and it worked. I don't want it to be a case where I am planting something and I'm showing off my beautiful garden and nobody else is successful at growing food. That is not the aim. Otherwise, I'll just stop doing this completely. I want you to be able to be successful at growing your own food as well. So this really works. So give it a shot. Wherever you put a brassica, it doesn't matter whether it's pak choy cabbage, whatever brassica you're planting, put a bit of scallion there and it will help. In here I have, well, this container has turmeric in there, but guys, turmeric take forever and tomorrow to sprout. And so I'm utilizing the container to grow cucumbers. And guys, if you've been here with me at Farming on the Rocks, you know this is one of the things that I have done everything with, and I've failed so many times with you. I have been really, really successful in the past with cucumbers, but ever since the worms found my garden and the aphids, because I didn't know aphids until I started my own garden. Ever since they find Farming on the Rocks, I have been struggling with cucumbers. No, I have learned the best companion for cucumbers is nasturtium. Nasturtium, can't recommend it to you yet, but you can do your own research and see if there are testimonies out there to say that it actually works. But I am going to give it a shot. I have a huge nasturtium growing in the garden, and I'm going to try and propagate some of it in here with my cucumbers, because by the hook or the crook, we're going to eat cucumbers from these. No, I have done my part. There is scallion here, thyme down here, flowers. I prepared this area to have a successful cucumber harvest, and I'm also going to be adding the nasturtium. I also have lettuce growing in here. That's another great companion for cucumbers. It provides the shade for it. I'll get into that in a little bit. But nasturtium, I was told, is a very good companion for cucumbers, because another thing that loves cucumbers are leaf miners, and I have so many leaf miners in my garden. They're on the tomato, they're on my cabbages, as tiny as the cabbages are. There are leaf miners on them already, and so I'll plant. I know the leaf miners love the nasturtium, but I want to see if it will help with any other of those pests that attack cucumbers at Farming on the Rocks. Another great set of companions are lettuces and any tall vegetable growing in your garden. And these come quickly. That's the lettuce. I have three varieties of lettuce in here. Guys, I don't even remember the names. But these provide really, really good ground cover, and the taller vegetable provide really, really good shade for the lettuce. So they both benefit from each other. I'm going to plant these in here, and in a couple of weeks, lettuce come really, really quick, sometimes less than a couple of weeks. They, depending on the size you plant the seedling, you will have lettuce coming in, and you're able to eat these out and have your longer term vegetables growing in the garden. So I'm just going to put some lettuce in between so we can have those for salads while we have the callaloo for a little longer period in the garden. These two benefit each other. I'm just planting them at random spots in there, because as I said, these come really, really fast. What I mean by they come fast is they mature quickly, as I'm very aware that we use terms differently depending on where we're from. So before you know it, we have lettuce harvesting in here. And they spread out and cover the soil and keep it cool. Where did I put my stick? Oh. When these start growing, then I'll know exactly which lettuce it is. I really don't remember the names. Okay, I'm going to water these in after we're done here. Soil is moist. You should never, ever, ever transplant seedlings into dry soil. It is moist, but I need to saturate it a little more later on. I hope I was thorough enough for you. For those of you who asked me to do this video, and I hope it assisted someone who didn't really ask but wanted to know. I hope it was helpful to you, because that is why I do these videos. And thank you for asking your question. There are so many other vegetables that can be companion planted. There are so many things I've grown in the garden together, utilizing my space and also benefiting each other, whether it is by um, improving the soil structure, as I said earlier, whether it is pest control or whether it is for pollination. 'Cause I plant a lot of flowers in the garden. It's kind of, there's not much now, but I'm replanting, and that is to attract pollinators. But my plants, my veggies and beans and so on that produces flowers like the gungo peas and the squashes, the okras, the peppers, the tomatoes, all of those flowering plants, they attract a lot of pollinators to the garden. So whether it is to benefit the pollinators, the soil, or for pest control, I do try and maximize as much as I possibly can, given the limitations that I have working with. And so I encourage you to do so. If there are any vegetables that I did not mention that you want to find out what the best companion would be, ask, and I'll do my best to assist you. Just leave your question in the comments. I don't want you to watch the video and be wondering what else. If it is that you want to know, ask. I'll do my best. You guys know I answer every single one of those questions as long as it is reasonable and there's a possible answer for you. I'll give you that answer. There's no need to look any further. Just ask your questions and I will provide you with as much assistance that I possibly can in helping you to grow your own food. Right here in this container that I'm looking at, I have callaloo, I have cucumbers, and I have beetroot growing together in this one container right here. And so, not sure how any of them benefit each other, but I'm utilizing the space that I have. So as I said, there a ton of other vegetables that can be planted together. And so just use the space that you have. However, I would warn against planting things that will take from each other. I would not plant a tomato and a pepper in the same container. They're two heavy feeders. You don't want to put two heavy feeders in the same container. None is going to benefit each other, and they might both not produce. So you want to take that into consideration. If you have any questions on that as well, if you're not sure if you can put two things together, ask me in the comment. I will let you know. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. And I hope, as I said, that this video helped you or help someone you know. Share the videos for persons who you know trying to grow their food. Just share, guys, because as Steve always say, sharing is caring. You want to hear me? All right, guys, that's it for today. Please remember to like and leave your comments. Can't overemphasize that. Please remember to share, subscribe, guys, and press the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post these videos. Usually I post a video every day. These type of videos I'll try and do one or two for the week. There's always something to learn here at Farming on the Rocks, and there's always something that you guys are teaching me. So please leave your recommendations in the comment. All right, guys, take care. Bye for now.